Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that one of the world's most loved toy companies had only a few months left before running out of money. A company that had inspired generations. A brand trusted by millions of parents. A business that seemed impossible to fail. Was standing on the edge of bankruptcy. In the early 2000s, Lego was losing nearly $1 million every single day. Executives were running out of ideas. Investors were losing confidence. Many experts believed the company would soon become another forgotten brand. But then, everything changed. What happened inside Lego's boardrooms completely transformed the company's future. And today, its comeback is studied in business schools around the world. So how did one of history's greatest toy companies almost destroy itself? And then pull off one of the greatest business comebacks ever? Let's find out. The company that built childhood. Before we talk about Lego's biggest mistakes, we need to understand why the company was so successful in the first place. Lego wasn't just another toy company. It was an idea. An idea that encouraged imagination instead of instructions. Children didn't simply play with Lego bricks. They built cities. They created spaceships. They imagined entire worlds. That freedom made Lego different from every other toy on the market. The company steadily became one of the most respected toy manufacturers in the world, selling billions of colorful bricks across dozens of countries. Parents trusted Lego because it was educational. Kids loved it because there were no limits. It looked like a business that could never fail. But history has taught us something important. Even the strongest company can make dangerous decisions. And Lego was about to learn that lesson the hard way. When success became dangerous. By the late 1990s, the world was changing faster than ever. Children were no longer spending all their free time building with plastic bricks. Video games were exploding in popularity. The internet was becoming part of everyday life. New entertainment options appeared almost every year. Suddenly, Lego wasn't just competing with toy companies anymore. It was competing with PlayStation, Nintendo, television, computers, and later, mobile devices. Instead of asking one simple question, how do we make our core product even better? Lego asked a completely different question. How can we become everything? That single shift in thinking would change the company's future. A small reminder. If you enjoy discovering the real stories behind the world's biggest companies, subscribe to The Big Move because we've got many more unbelievable business stories coming your way. The expansion that went too far. At first, diversification sounded like a brilliant strategy. Why sell only building bricks when you could sell almost everything? Lego started expanding into clothing, theme parks, television projects, books, jewelry, video games, educational products, even products that had almost nothing to do with building bricks. On paper, it looked like innovation. In reality, the company was slowly losing its identity. Instead of becoming excellent at one thing, Lego was becoming average at dozens of different things. Every new project required more employees, more factories, more designers, more investment, more risk, and every failure became more expensive than the last. The company wasn't just spending money. It was burning through it. Vast. The cost of complexity. Most people think businesses fail because customers stop buying. But that's only part of the story. Sometimes, companies fail because they become too complicated. Lego introduced thousands of unique pieces every year. Instead of using a limited number of bricks across different sets, They created brand new molds for countless products. Every new piece meant higher manufacturing costs, higher storage costs, higher transportation costs, higher inventory costs. Slowly, profits started disappearing. Ironically, Lego was selling millions of toys, yet the company was making less and less money. It was one of the biggest business contradictions of its time. Sales alone don't guarantee success. Profit does. And Lego was forgetting that. Here's something to think about. If you were the CEO of Lego at that moment, would you have expanded into new businesses? Or focused only on improving the original Lego bricks? Let us know in the comments. I'm curious to see what you would have done differently. The warning signs nobody wanted to see. Inside the company, warning signs were becoming impossible to ignore. Costs kept rising. Profits kept falling. New product launches weren't delivering the expected results. Some executives believed the company simply needed more innovation. Others thought Lego had already lost focus. Unfortunately, instead of simplifying the business, Lego kept making it even more complicated. And every wrong decision pushed the company one step closer to disaster. Then came the moment nobody inside Lego wanted to admit. The company was no longer facing a temporary slowdown. It was facing a survival crisis. And what happened next nearly ended the Lego story forever. When reality finally hit. By 2003, the situation had become impossible to ignore. Lego wasn't just struggling. It was bleeding money. Reports suggested the company was losing close to $1 million every single day. For a business that had spent decades building one of the strongest brands in the toy industry, this was almost unbelievable. Suppliers were nervous. Employees feared for their jobs. Retailers started questioning whether Lego would even survive. For the first time in its history, bankruptcy wasn't just a scary headline. It was a real possibility. And when a company reaches that point, every single decision matters. The biggest mistake wasn't the competition. Many people assume video games were responsible for Lego's collapse. But that's only half the truth. Yes, children were spending more time with PlayStations, Xboxes, and computers. But competitors don't destroy great companies. Bad decisions do. Lego wasn't losing because kids hated its products. Kids still loved Lego. The company was losing because it had become incredibly inefficient. It was producing thousands of different parts, managing too many product lines, running businesses that had little connection to its original mission. Instead of focusing on what made Lego special, the company was trying to become everything for everyone. And that's a dangerous strategy for any business. Because when your identity disappears, customers eventually stop knowing what you truly stand for. A business without focus. Imagine walking into a restaurant famous for making the world's best pizza. Now imagine that same restaurant suddenly starts selling sushi, burgers, ice cream, coffee, furniture, and mobile phones. Would you still know what that business is famous for? Probably not. That's exactly what happened to Lego. The more directions it expanded into, the weaker its core business became. Growth looked impressive from the outside. But inside the company, everything was becoming harder to manage. More meetings, more departments, more complexity, less profit. It was a perfect example of how bigger doesn't always mean better. Here's a question for you. Do you think companies should focus on mastering one product or constantly expand into new industries? Share your opinion in the comments. There are strong arguments on both sides. The leadership shakeup. When a company is close to collapse, shareholders expect one thing: change. Lego's board realized that continuing with the same strategy would only make things worse. So they made one of the boldest decisions in the company's history. They brought in a new leader. A leader who wasn't interested in protecting old ideas. He wanted results. Instead of asking, "What else can Lego sell?" he asked a much simpler question. Why did people fall in love with Lego in the first place? That single question became the foundation of one of the greatest business turnarounds ever. Don't miss stories like this. If you're enjoying this breakdown of the world's biggest business successes and failures, subscribe to The Big Move. There's a lot more coming. Going back to basics. The new leadership quickly discovered something shocking. Lego had created thousands of unique brick pieces that weren't even necessary. Many expensive products generated very little profit. Entire business units were consuming money instead of creating it. The solution wasn't adding more products. It was removing them. Lego began simplifying almost everything. Hundreds of products disappeared. Unnecessary brick designs were eliminated. Factories became more efficient. Costs dropped. The company stopped chasing every opportunity and started focusing on its biggest strength: building bricks. Simple, creative, timeless. Sometimes the smartest business strategy isn't creating something new. It's rediscovering what made you successful in the first place. The masterstroke nobody expected. But cutting costs alone wasn't enough. Lego needed people to fall in love with the brand again. That's when the company made one of the smartest strategic moves in its history. Instead of creating random toy lines, Lego partnered with some of the biggest entertainment franchises in the world. Imagine walking into a toy store and seeing your favorite movie characters, built entirely from Lego bricks. Suddenly, children didn't just want blocks. They wanted to build adventures. Families who loved famous movies now had a new reason to buy Lego. Collectors joined the community. Adults who had grown up with Lego returned to the hobby. The customer base became bigger than ever before. It wasn't just a toy anymore. It became a global experience. And within a few years, the impossible started happening. The losses slowed. Confidence returned. The company that had once been preparing for disaster was finally moving in the right direction. But the most incredible part of Lego's comeback was still ahead. Because the decisions they made next would transform the company into one of the most profitable toy brands on Earth. The comeback. Lego had survived its darkest moment. But surviving was only the beginning. The real challenge was proving that the company could grow again without repeating the same mistakes. And this time, Lego understood one important thing. The future was not about creating more products. It was about creating more value. The company started listening to its biggest fans, improving the quality of its sets, and building stronger connections with customers. Then came one of the biggest turning points. Lego didn't just sell toys anymore. It built experiences. Through partnerships with massive franchises and creative storytelling, Lego became part of movies, games, and pop culture. The brand that once felt outdated suddenly became exciting again. But the biggest lesson from Lego's comeback wasn't about toys. It was about focus. Lego almost failed because it forgot what made it special. It tried to become everything, and almost lost the one thing it was already great at. Sometimes the biggest growth comes from going back to your roots. So here's a question. What company do you think can make the same comeback Lego made? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoy learning the real stories behind the biggest business successes and failures, subscribe to The Big Move for more incredible stories. Lego's story proves that even the strongest brands can fall. But with the right decisions, the right leadership, and the courage to change, a company can rebuild itself. And the next story shows what happens when a company does the opposite. A company that once dominated the world of entertainment, but failed to adapt. The rise and fall of Blockbuster.